Here's what's coming up on your horizon. Well, Oklahoma is definitely a tough on crime state. Yet new numbers show as our prison rolls have grown and spending on corrections increases, Oklahoma's violent crime rate has dropped only marginally. Today, we examine Oklahoma's prison population growth. We'll look at the connection between addiction and incarceration.
We're going to have to stop looking at building additional prison beds and really start looking at investment of those dollars on the front end of a person's life.
Visit with some lawmakers who want to address both the huge costs in state dollars as well as the lost human potential our swelling prison population is costing us.
These lives are complex just like everyone else's. The addictions are complex, where they came from, where they're leading.
I'll visit with two advocates of justice reform and alternative sentencing. And we'll end our day visiting a program behind bars designed to help inmates find new opportunities once released.
When they leave here, they've got the tools to be successful, that when they go back to their homes and communities, they can support their families.
Stay with us as we examine justice reform on Oklahoma Horizon.
Oklahoma Horizon is made possible by the Oklahoma Department of Career and Technology Education.
Oklahoma's investment in Career Tech provides more than nationally recognized technology education and training. It produces solid financial returns for the state's economic future. Oklahoma Career Tech, elevating our economy.
And the Oklahoma Department of Agriculture, Food, and Forestry, helping good people grow good things. And now, from the Career Tech Studios in Stillwater, here's your host, Rob McClendon.
Hello everyone, thanks for joining us here on Horizon. Well, the numbers, they are not good. Oklahoma's incarceration rate is the third highest in America. Per capita, we lock up more women than anyone else in the country. And in the past 25 years, Oklahoma's prison population has more than doubled from about 11,000 to over 26,000. And it's an issue that many believe can be traced back to a single factor, drugs. Today, we begin by looking at the addiction connection to Oklahoma's swelling incarceration rates.
Next week?
Yep.
Okay.
Callie Barrington didn't think she'd ever end up here.
I sit around, obviously I've had a lot of time to sit around and think, and no, I wouldn't have ever thought that. You know, I grew up in a family where I have three siblings. We're all college educated. I have a sister in the military, another sister that's a social worker, and a brother that's a missionary in India. I come from my parents that are school teachers, both have master's level education. No, I would never have thought that I'd be sitting here.
But she is, all thanks to a prescription drug addiction.
For me personally, I believe that some people have a predisposition to become addicted to substances, whether it's alcohol or drugs. I have a family history of addiction, specifically alcoholism, and I think people are predisposed to it because I know that after I started taking that medication and the longer that I was on that medication, you build up a tolerance for it in your system that requires you to take more, and it's just a vicious cycle. And if you don't, recognize soon enough to get out of it, you're already addicted before you know what happened to you, and you're on that continuous cycle, and you just continue to take more and more medication as your tolerance builds up.
Now serving a 30-year sentence, the depths she's reached is starting to hit home.
I think they thought they were helping me out, and that the harsher the penalty they could give me, it would get my attention. And to be quite honest, that's what I needed at the time. I had been to several treatment centers. I had tried that. I tried a lot of things, and I literally needed everything taken away from me to realize the situation I was at and the place that I was at in my life. And looking back now, I understand why they did what they did. It still is a very harsh sentence.
Long time.
It's a long time, because on a 30-year sentence, you do a third of your time, which is a flat 10 calendar years.
And if there is a path that leads to prison, drugs are certainly on it. Behind bars at Lexington State Prison, Vincent Ross is not here on a drug charge, yet his crimes are drug-related.
Usually I wake up about anywhere between 4:30 and 5. Not a day goes by that I don't think about it. Not one day, not 1 hour, not even hardly a minute goes by that I don't think about what I did. I'll come up for parole the first time in 2034.
The time for the crime may not be on a drug charge. but it's a start to understanding the beginning.
My drug of choice was cocaine, crack cocaine. You know, go out and get high for a couple of days, then be straight for a couple of months. It continues to get worse. It snowballs. And the longer it goes, the bigger it gets. I've had many opportunities for help. There comes a point where in my inner self where I feel like I gave up on the struggle. I gave up on the struggle and let addiction just have its way. I never would have dreamed that I would ever be capable of robbing anybody. But then that addiction was so powerful that all the other means were gone, and the thought entered my mind, well, I'm out of money, I can just take somebody else's. I portrayed like I had a weapon. The very first robbery I committed was a Subway sandwich shop, and I remember getting to the point of actually going up to the counter and trying to develop the courage, which it wasn't courage, it was just stupidity, to actually follow through with the intent of robbery. And I remember thinking to myself at that time, okay, I can just turn around and walk away. But I didn't do it. I would say 95% of the people that are incarcerated are here because of drugs, and the system doesn't do enough. The power of addiction, that's real prison. That's bondage. This isn't bondage, this is confinement.
More than half of all Oklahoma offenders are serving sentences for nonviolent crimes. The majority of these drug-related.
We really do incarcerate too many people in this state.
A tough-as-nails prosecutor, Oklahoma County District Attorney David Prater, spends his days sending people to jail. Yet even he sees a growing disconnect between drug addiction and incarceration. Oklahoma ranks first in the nation when incarcerating women and third when incarcerating men.
At some point, we're going to have to stop looking at building additional prison beds and really start looking at investment of those dollars on the front end of a person's life.
An investment that allows certain offenders to go through rehabilitation rather than incarceration.
These are not going to be quick answers. You know, we're not going to know what the effect of any given reform is going to be until a number of years down the line. But what we do know works, based on our experience with therapeutic courts, is that those people that would otherwise go into the prison systems for drug or alcohol-driven crimes, if we send them into an intensive program, a therapeutic type program, that those do work. And what we've learned is that, you know, it costs to incarcerate a person in this state right now anywhere between $18,000 and $23,000. Our therapeutic court programs like DUI court and our drug court programs they cost about $5,000 a year. So you have that comparison in cost, that savings in cost, but not just that. A person who successfully completes the drug court program in Oklahoma County is about 5 times less likely to reoffend than a person that was incarcerated for the same offense and is just released back into society with minimal counseling and minimal treatment.
Breaking the cycle of addiction that for some families has made the prison gate a revolving door. And a new trend is underway to reduce prison populations as states try to tighten their belts. When we return, a look at both who goes to prison and for how long.
You're watching Oklahoma Horizon, featuring some of the good things that are happening in the great state of Oklahoma.
Well, while inmate counts fall nationwide, they continue to climb in the Sooner State. Projections are our prison population could grow by 10% over the next 8 years. Yet as prison rolls grow and spending on incarceration increases, a reduction in the violent crime rate trails those states who are putting fewer people behind bars. A perplexing question state lawmakers are trying to answer. Joining me now is our Andy Barth.
That's right, Rob. State lawmakers in Oklahoma held an interim study to address the growing issues of substance abuse. Lawmakers heard from recovering addicts and members of the Department of Corrections. Now, this is a troubling subject, and the story you're about to see contains some disturbing images of drug use.
It's a growing problem. The rising pace of drug-related incarcerations make Oklahoma the leading state for drug abuse.
Certainly there's a distinction between abuse and addiction.
Clint Castleberry is the administrator of programs for the Oklahoma Department of Corrections and says not all addicts are bad.
Just because you are addicted to something does not necessarily make you a bad person.
And Oklahoma Senator Rob Standridge says addicts' lives are complicated, just like ours.
These lives are complex just like everyone else's. The addictions are complex, where they came from, where they're leading.
And Standridge says the problem isn't only in Oklahoma.
I think it's a problem throughout the country, but I would love to see Oklahoma lead the charge in finding good solutions that make sense and that we can maybe have a trend that goes a different way in Oklahoma. Because throughout the country, whether you're talking about prescription drug abuse or whatever, you see a trend in the wrong direction.
And part of that trend is the rising number of children and young adults involved in substance abuse.
With our young people throughout the country, every day almost you read in the news of a drug party. I think we just read the other day of a LSD party.
Leading to a life in and out of prison.
Reentry has become a buzzword and growing field across the nation for folks who are returning from periods of incarceration, whether it's at a county level, a state level, or a federal level.
And Castleberry says once on the drug path, it's hard to get back to everyday life.
A lot of these folks have burned a lot of bridges, and they are having to kind of recreate from scratch or rock bottom whatever the next stage of their life is going to be. And that's hard to do when you have court costs, fines, fees, potential supervision fees, and then you've still got to find a place to live that's safe and hopefully supportive of recovery efforts, and then being able to drive to work and find a job.
The golden liquid.
It's a problem. It'd be great if Oklahoma led the charge on finding solutions.
It still kills people. It's the very thing I need to live without being dope sick.
Well, now the Department of Corrections spearheaded a program called the Second Chance Act program. It's designed to help women who have been incarcerated for drug abuse. They assist with finding housing, employment, and other essentials when getting out of prison.
Now, we often hear about some drug users going into prison and then coming out clean, but then there's others that go back into that life of addiction. What's the difference there, Andy?
Well, Rob, oftentimes when people come out of prison and then they go right back to drug abuse, it's because they're living in an environment that's not supportive of their recovery efforts. Now, what the Second Chance program does is they help them find sober living to aid in their getting sober from their drug abuse.
All right, thank you so much, Andy.
You're welcome, Rob.
Well, not every addict winds up behind bars, yet they're still imprisoned by their addiction. And increasingly, it's an addiction, not street drugs, but prescription medication. If you'd like to learn more, we are streaming a story on prescription drug abuse that really cuts across generations on our website. Just go to okhorizon.com and you can find it in our value-added section.
Still to come on Oklahoma Horizon, new skills and second chances. But first, try again.
Well, criminal justice reform is nothing new. In 2012, former House Speaker Chris Steele pushed through legislation to help fund local law enforcement initiatives to keep nonviolent offenders out of the system, while also trying to lower the recidivism rate of those offenders already in their system.
In Oklahoma, even as our state's population has increased, the number of law enforcement officers that we have on the ground has decreased. So we have fewer law enforcement officers today with a greater population. That can't be good for public safety. We were also able to determine that today, 51% of those who are convicted of a felony are released from prison without any sort of supervision. 51% of our convicted felons are released with no supervision. And so what the plan in part suggests to do is to reinvest $40 million over the course of 10 years to local law enforcement entities to be able to target really those high areas of crime within their jurisdiction. We believe that that's going to make a tangible difference.
Yet, despite being signed into law by the governor, corrections reform has been a tough sell in a legislature dominated by law and order Republicans, some who have gone on record saying it was too soft on crime. As for the former speaker, upset over the direction his own initiative was taking, Steele resigned from the board implementing it. Well, with Oklahoma prisons at 99% capacity, the state depends upon private prisons to hold the rest. Currently, roughly 1 in 5 Oklahoma inmates is housed in a private for-profit facility at a cost of the state of about $73 million annually. And while these private facilities have kept the state from building new prisons, some civil rights groups warn such a move could take us down a path of more incarcerated Oklahomans and more money being laid out by the state to house them. Earlier, I spoke with Ryan Kiesel, the head of the Oklahoma chapter of the ACLU, and Kate Ritchie with the Oklahoma Policy Institute. Do either one of you have a concern over what seems to be an increased interest in the privatization of prisons here in Oklahoma?
Absolutely. And when we talk about the over-criminalizing of our state that has led to this mass incarceration crisis, and don't get me wrong, this is a crisis. We're at over 99% capacity. Our ability as a state, both with regard to the folks that we're incarcerating and then the effects that we realize when those people leave incarceration, will cripple our state's budget in the not too distant future. It is already to the extent where the state's budget is struggling to keep up. If we move even further to a private prison model, right now around 26% of the state's inmates are in private prisons. There's this thought that we save money, and that's just not the case. Most per diem rates, the state is actually cheaper than private prisons. There are a couple of per diem, when I say per diem, the cost that it costs to incarcerate a single inmate. Yeah. There are a couple of per diem measures where private prisons do appear to be some cost savings to the state. So private prison advocates often point to that and say, look, we can do this cheaper. But what they don't tell you is that in those contracts, there are caps on the maximum amount of medical care that they'll provide, so that whenever an inmate gets sick and they go above that medical cap, the state picks up the bill. There are certain medical treatments that private prisons don't want to be in the business of. HIV and AIDS treatment, chemo treatment, diabetes treatment. These chronic conditions, they don't want to be involved in that. They're too expensive. Those costs are still borne by the state. And then there's the bigger issue, the political issue of when we have a for-profit prison model where there are corporations that are benefiting, their bottom lines benefit whenever we lock up Oklahomans. That makes it very unlikely that we're going to see the kind of political courage and political will at the state capitol to reform our criminal justice system such that we're not locking up all these folks to begin with.
We have prisons for public safety reasons. If someone is truly a threat to the people around them and or they need to pay a debt to society, that's society's responsibility. It's not something anyone should be profiting from. That's the first thing. The second thing is it's not cheaper. It is not cheaper. They do not incorporate, or they do not include all of the costs of operating in prison in these rates that they quote to state leaders per diem when they try and get contracts. And thirdly, we see from other states, we have an excellent record of the performance of these private prison companies who have perpetuated just things that would shock the conscience, human rights violations to inmates that if you're in jail for 2 or 3 years for committing a minor crime, you do not deserve to be treated the way that, or be kept in the conditions that many of these private prisons keep inmates under, and which is the reason that several states and jurisdictions have run them out of town, and the reason they're coming to Oklahoma, because they're looking for new business.
I think that in the long run, both from the amount of money that it would ultimately end up costing the state, and in the cost of the poor outcomes. The recidivism rates that come out of private prisons, the violence of inmate on inmate or inmate on staff, those numbers are abysmal when compared to state corrections facilities. I mean, let's keep in mind the folks that work, the state employees that work in state prisons are public servants. They are, and I don't mean to disparage the people, the officers that work at private prisons, but when you work at a state facility, you're a public servant. You're a servant of the people of Oklahoma. You don't answer to anyone but the people of Oklahoma. These folks that work for private prisons, they answer to a board. They answer to a bottom line, a corporate bottom line. And I think that is one of the big reasons when we see the disparities between the types of outcomes of private prisons versus state-run facilities.
Want to share something you've seen here today? Well, all of our episodes are streaming on our YouTube channel at Oklahoma Horizon TV, or you can subscribe to our weekly free podcasts on iTunes. Well, if drugs are on the path to prison for many, once released, it is the lack of a good job outside the prison gate that contributes to far too many Oklahomans heading back behind bars. Recidivism is a complicated issue, but one the state has been able to make a dent in by teaching work skills to inmates, preparing them for release. I visited one of these skills centers at Eddie Warrior Correctional Facility in Taft, Oklahoma.
The faces are all different. But inside this classroom at Eddie Warrior Correctional Facility for Women, the stories are often quite similar.
I have 3 kids, and a husband. I have an 8-year-old son, a 7-year-old daughter, and a 19-month-old daughter.
And a drug conviction that has Amanda serving time. But time she's taken full advantage of.
And I got my GED here.
And a certification that will help her get a job upon release. Sheba is Amanda's tutor.
And I enjoy watching other people learn. I think that's the highlight for me, is that I like seeing women, especially, when they've been out there on drugs or alcohol or they have their addictions, coming in here and learning something that's going to be positive for them when they get out of prison.
Serving her own sentence, Sheba knows just how life-changing the skills learned inside this classroom can be because of how they've changed her own life.
Because my children are my motivation, I don't want my kids or their friends to end up in this position. It's horrible. Oh, I'm going to get crying.
Yeah, but it is. It is. There's hope.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people come in here and they're away from their family, and it makes it hard. And so I fuss all the time about women doing something positive with yourself, getting your education. And there's so many out there on the yard that are older and that are afraid of failing. And they have drug addictions and they don't have family support. And so when they get in here, I fuss at them all the time. Just do it. Just do the work. Just learn it. Don't quit. Don't give up. Because we have good instructors that want to see them succeed.
Teaching not just technical skills, but success skills for life. Janet Ashley is the program supervisor.
Oh, I see ladies coming in and not even having enough courage to even look at you and talk to you, look you in the eye. And success story is when you can have that lady come in and she can look at you and talk to you, because some of them so beat down, they won't even look at you, you know. But that's what we do here at Career Tech. We try to encourage them, make them be a person again.
Jim Meek heads up Oklahoma's Skill Centers program.
One of our primary goals is to take our students from being a tax user to a tax payer, so that they contribute to the economics of a state.
According to Meek, over the last decade, Skills Centers have served over 13,000 students with a job placement rate of 86%.
We're working with a segment of society that many people have given up on. They've been incarcerated for a while, they've been away from their families. Some of them are individuals that had a lot of challenges growing up. In the Skill Centers, what we hope to do is take individuals, get them some good positive training, life skills, employability skills, and so that when they leave here, they've got the tools to be successful, that when they go back to their homes and communities, they can support their families.
And staying out of prison.
The recidivism rate is so high. I've seen so many people come back to prison because their addictions got the best of them. And they were afraid to go out there and do something different. And this is their opportunity. There's so many women on the yard that want to get in Career Tech, and we hear it all the time. Can I get in? Can I get in? They're excited because they know that this is something that's going to help them. And it is. If they use it, it'll help them.
And these one-time inmates do leave prison with real-life skills. The set you see around me was built from the ground up by inmates in a Skills Center class to learn cabinetry. Now, if you'd like to learn more about what it takes to turn prisoners' lives around, we have an interesting feature streaming on our website called Sinners and Saints that I think you'll want to take a look at. Just head to okhorizon.com and look under our value-added section.
You can keep up with us throughout the week Just head to okhorizon.com, where you can see more of any of our stories, read our reporters behind the scenes blogs, see what others are saying about us on Twitter, and face the facts with our regular updates. So reach out and touch us anywhere and anytime.
We live in a land of abundance. Next time on Oklahoma Horizon, we take a closer look at those whose work makes those bountiful harvests possible.
Currently, we're doing pretty well. You know, if you take the last 20 years and pull out the last 3, commodity prices have been close to double the previous 17 years.
On Oklahoma Show for the Heartland, Oklahoma Horizon. Well, that's going to wrap us up for today, but you can see more of any of our stories on our website at okhorizon.com. You can watch us on the go with our weekly podcast on iTunes. Follow us throughout the week on Twitter at OKHorizonTV, or just become a Horizon fan on Facebook. I'm Rob McClendon. Thanks for watching. See you back here next week.